Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I thought I'd do something a little bit different today, a little bit more informal if you like, and I wanted to discuss a topic that comes up a lot in the questions in the comments section on my YouTube channel, and it's about the way super yachts are flagged and why we see so many British ensign, red ensign flags and not so many, or if any, American or United States flags. Basically, the way when the conception of a yacht is designed, the owner goes to a company and they hire an architect to design it, or yacht designer, whatever you want to call them, and they're governed by rules. So you'll often see on my videos where I'll mention in the stats of a yacht things like the length, more importantly the gross tonnage, and the amount of guests that are allowed. And very often you'll see people say, well, only 12 guests on a yacht of that size, on a 90-meter yacht, and you can only have 12 guests. Well, that's because it's governed by a set of rules for the design and the running of these yachts, and it's called the Large Commercial Yacht Code. Generally there's two that they refer to most often. There's LY2 and LY3. And there's also something called the Passenger Yacht Code, which is more recent. The guidance is for right down from the designers to the builders, to the owners, operators, the crews. So there's an awful lot of governing going on. So basically the yacht is built to that code. So for instance, an LY2 code is for all yachts under 300 gross tons. The LY3 code is for all yachts under 3,000 gross tons. Anything over 3,000 gross tons is classed as a commercial vessel. So that means that it's governed by commercially, the same as any commercial vessel basically, are governed by those different rules. And that's one of the reasons why these yachts are usually 2,900 gross tons or something like that. It's because of these laws. If they have more than 12 guests, in the past, they would also fall into the commercial code. But what the yachting authorities have done in the last few years is they've brought out a new code called the Passenger Yacht Code. So basically the Passenger Yacht Code is of any size, in private or trade use, carrying 13 to 36 passengers and not carrying cargo. So one of the other things you need to take into account is the employees that you have. The type of qualification your engineers and your deck officers need to have is based on the type of yacht you're going to work on. Well, let's just take the engineers for now. To be able to work as a chief engineer on a yacht of under 500 gross tons and up to 1,500 kilowatts. So the power of the yacht also comes in. It's not just about the gross tonnage, it's about the power of the yacht that the yacht generates. You can have something called a Y4 engineering certificate. Now, if you want to work on a yacht up to 3,000 gross tons and 3,000 kilowatts, then you need to have a Y3. Then there are two others, Y2 and a Y1. They're both based on the power of the yacht, but the limit of the gross tonnage is the same. So up to 3,000 gross tons, 6,000 kilowatts, you need a Y2, and 9,000 kilowatts, you need a Y1. So these are chief engineers qualifications for vessels up to 3,000 gross tons and those power designations. Now, if you want to work on a yacht over 3,000 gross tons, regardless of the power, you need to have something called an Engineering Officer of the Watch Unlimited. And that is, it's a bigger job to get that for obvious reasons. Because what you often find is when you go to a yacht of over 3,000 gross tons, you'll find yourself very frequently working with engineers and deck officers who come from the commercial industry. So tankers, cruise ships, all kinds of different massive vessels, and they've got lots of experience on big vessels. They come to yachting for the same reasons most people do, because the pay is very good and the conditions are very good, but you often find that the slightly older the crew, because they've had to go through that process of a cadetship. So a 3-year cadetship, which includes college and sea time, and then they go and they They work on the tankers for a number of years so they get that experience, and then they come to super yachts. That's often the way it goes. If you go onto a vessel under 3,000 gross tons, you often find that the captain, and especially from my point of view, I noticed this because I'm older, but you find that the captains and chief engineers are quite very young. The last vessel I worked on that was under 3,000 gross tons, the chief engineer and the captain were only 30 years old. So yeah, so that's one of the things that they have to take into account. And obviously, on the bigger yachts, the salaries tend to be bigger because those people have more experience, not necessarily more experience, they have more qualifications, higher qualification, and they generally pay more than the smaller vessels. So that's another thing that they have to take into account when they decide where they're going to go in terms of size with these yachts. Now, in the US, you don't see super yachts of any size except under 300 gross tons with a US flag on them. And there's a reason for that, because in the US, these rules, obviously the US has its own rules, and they don't abide, up until very recently, they didn't abide by these same rules. In the US, they deemed that any vessel over 300 gross tons, regardless if it was for recreation, it was classed as a commercial vessel. So even if you had a 400 gross ton vessel, which is quite small, you were governed by the commercial codes, which is extremely expensive and very strict. So I'll just read a section here from Mega Yacht News article. It says, for at least half a century, ridiculous regulations prohibited American citizens from displaying their patriotism by flying an American flag on their yacht. Those regulations have now changed. Thanks to an amendment passed with bipartisan support, private US flagged super yachts exceeding 300 gross tons are permissible. So basically, what they've done to cut that down, and like I said, I'll put a link below for this article, is they've basically taken the steps to make into law very similar to the MCA system, where vessels under 3,000 gross tons will fall into a LY3 or Large Yacht Code 3 designation. Now, apparently what's going to happen next in the US, this article is from 2018, by the way. So, but what it says in the article is basically that they have to go to the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard have to create their own set of regulations based on this new law. So it's going to take some time. However, if you own a yacht in the US and it's under 3,000 gross tons, you can now, as long as it's MCA compliant, so the Maritime Coast Guard Agency, which is a British organisation, as long as it's MCA compliant, you can apply for the same status in the US and you can flag it as a US vessel, and away you go. Now, the laws there are quite strict on the type of crew that you have to have. When you have a US flag vessel, your crew must be from the US. So that there are still restrictions in that sense, the owners and what they can do and who they can hire, which is still going to limit, I think, which owners decide to go down that route, because it's not just about the flag, it's about how it's governed. And like I said, you have to have all US crew on board. Norwegian Cruise Lines tried to do this thing with the US flagged cruise ships. I don't think it's still going. There was a disaster basically because everybody on board had to be a US citizen. What it did provoke was, because they couldn't get the crew for these, because these vessels had 1,200, 1,500 crew, and they couldn't get the people to stay in the jobs. So what they started to do is they could hire somebody who had paperwork in to apply for US citizenship. So they started hiring people from other countries, especially Ireland, because there's an easy path for people from Ireland to get US citizenship. And they started to hire all these people and started to put in paperwork for them. It was a big mess. I knew some people who worked there because I worked for NCL in the past, and they were saying it was a disaster. So I think they may have, I'm not sure about this, they may have one other vessel still doing it, but I'm not sure. But yeah, they had 3 at one point. Anyway, I went off topic a little bit there. Why do we see so many super yachts with the British ensign? Well, there are different types of British ensign, and a lot of the British Commonwealth, the British Commonwealth countries and islands, they're all entitled to have a British ensign. It's called a defaced ensign, so it's a red flag with the Union flag in the corner, and then they'll have some thing on there that identifies them separately to the UK. So a British flag is just a red ensign with the Union flag in the corner, and that's it. That's blank. If you see that, usually that's British flagship. There are some instances where Cayman Islands ships fly that flag. I asked the chap who was from the flag state once when we were being audited, and he explained it to me, but it didn't make any sense. But for the most part, the British ensign is like, if it's registered in London or Southampton or somewhere like that, you'll have that British flag. If it's got a little thing on it, then it's from one of the Commonwealth countries. I know not all the Commonwealth countries have British flags, but that's the general rule. So what you'll see is most of the super yachts, they're registered in the Cayman Islands, and there are reasons for this. The biggest reason why they do this is for tax reasons. If you want to build your yacht in Germany or in Netherlands or wherever you want to build it, and you're going to register your vessel as a Cayman Islands vessel, then once your vessel is built, you have to leave the EU. You have to sail out of the EU. Otherwise, if my yacht was built and we were in Bremerhaven, for instance, and then I decided I wanted to go to the UK and we sail straight to the UK, upon arriving in the UK, I would be required, not right there and then, but because I went to the UK, I didn't leave the EU, I would be immediately required to pay all the tax that was due on that vessel. Now, if I instead of doing that, if I sail to Norway, which is very popular from the northern part of Germany, I leave the EU, and now I don't have to pay that tax. Now I can stay there overnight, and then I can sail right back, which is what you'll see very often in a lot of these press reports. You'll see, this vessel's just been launched in Germany or in Holland, and now it's on its way to Norway. And that's the reason why. There's no other reason. It's not just that the owner just decided he wants to go to Norway. It's because of the tax liability. So and if it's in the south, in the Mediterranean, they'll sail to Gibraltar, now Gibraltar is part of the UK Commonwealth, but they have special status, tax exemption. Also, the fuel is very cheap. Not cheap, but it's very competitive there as well, because they have very good tax laws there. So the vessels that leave from the Mediterranean area, so if they're built in Italy or in France or Lavalier, places like this, they'll sail to Gibraltar. And then very often they'll turn around and they'll sail back into the EU. Now, once they've made that stop and they turn around and go back, they're free to go about their business. So they're not paying all that tax. So if you think about a big yacht, like Eclipse or something like that, the yacht, the tax that was owed on that vessel when it was built was probably like, I don't know, 60 million euros, 80 million euros. So it's a lot, even for a billionaire, that's a lot of money. The main reason is for tax reasons. Also, like I said, the Cayman Islands flag and many of these flags allow the owner to employ people from lots of different countries. They have the Cayman Islands laws are very relaxed when it comes to that kind of thing. So this is where the phrase "the flag of convenience" comes from, because the owner of the yacht is not from the Cayman Islands. None of the crew are from the Cayman Islands. The vessel's not going to reside in the Cayman Islands. It's not going to be docked in the Cayman Islands. It might go there occasionally, but it's not going to be. It's just a flag that allows the owner to be very flexible with who he employs, how he employs them, how they pay them, work, because all of that stuff is all tied into the flag. The rules of the boat are based on the laws of that place. I will put links below to these articles. There are some other articles out there. You can Google it. Just Google SuperYachts US flag, and you'll get lots of different results. But I'll put the one in that I read from because I used it on this video. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments below. Tell me what you think about this. It's an interesting subject. I could dive into it very deeply, but I just wanted to put that out there. Depending on the kind of response I get and the questions I get, I might do a follow-up video. But okay, I'm going to end it there. Let me know what you think of this video. What do you think of my Riva, by the way? This is so I can actually tell people I have a Riva yacht. I don't say how big it is, but it's a Riva yacht, right? So I can't get in it, but I can look at it. The next best thing. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. Please be sure to like, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and look out for more videos to come. All right, guys, bye.